Alright guys, Scrappy again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Day 1 of the minor is done and dusted. 4 teams already eliminated from this single elimination tournament. Big results happening. FaZe survive an early scare and a big scare at that against Miami Heretics and OpTic Texas. They get the job done versus Falcons, but it was not as easy as they were expecting, and a fair few words exchanged as a result of this. Very much Twitter your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. We start here just talking about minor 1 in general. It's the first time we've really actually had something like this in the CDL. It kind of is like a home series from back in MW19. We've not had an online tournament really of any form among the pros in years. It's been online qualifier after online qualifier after online qualifier, and then we go to a major to do an actual tournament. I'm very happy with the idea that we have tournament play more frequently than just at the majors. It's always how it should be, in my opinion. Back in the 2K days, the 5K days, this is how it tended to be. It's a bit strange in some respects. It is single elim, it is online. There are going to be interesting outcomes that happen as a result of it, but I do think it's a positive for the scene in general, and it's created a bit more excitement around the state of tournament play. One question I do have though is, how is this tournament actually going to be counted? Because as I say, in some respect it's not dissimilar to the home series back in MW19, because then it was online, only 8 teams. Yes, it was a GSL group double elimination, but then I think the playoffs was still single elim, and they kind of count as tournament wins. I mean, I don't really like to count them, but if you look at, you know, the way that people tend to count stuff in the CDL and Breaking Point, COD Gamepedia, whatever, those home series, because if you don't count the home series as victories, then basically nobody won an event that season, and even the World Championship, maybe you have to question because it was online. So I think people have generally accepted, okay, the MW19 home series count as chips. But if they count, then this counts as well as like a chip. You know what I mean? It's not a real chip. So well, I'll leave that one up to you guys, what you think about this tournament. But it is ongoing. These were the 4 games as of today that have now come to a conclusion. And let's dive right in. This was, well, shocking to watch, painful to watch, entertaining at times. Gentlemates played the Minnesota Rokkr, and LA, I mean, wow, what a team these guys are. We know that OpTic were clowning them before this series and even after this series about the way that they approach Call of Duty right now, the way that they play the game. And, well, this was nearly a throw from Gorillas, but they did get the job done. They broke it when it mattered. It was fun to watch Hassy and get played in competitive. I'm not going to deny that. Then the Search and Destroy comes around. Priestahh here, you know, was planting the bomb, got the job done. Gorillas are gentlemates. I'm just going to call them gentlemates. I think it's what everyone really wants. They go up 2-0 in the series, and it's all looking pretty good for those guys. On paper, they were potentially going to be the favourites theoretically coming in here. We think that the team that has 3 guys that won the World Championship not long ago, basically the same roster that won champs with HyDra in 2023, is on paper a team that should be getting at least top 6 in the Pro League. But of course, that's actually not how it's gone by any means so far. CleanX was shooting bodies, then they lost the map, and it looks like they were probably going to go on to, you know, lose the series. It's pretty rare a reverse sweep happens. Well, it did used to happen quite frequently, but nowadays it doesn't seem like we get too many of them. But Gentlemate, wow, these guys have no ice, or I don't know what was going on, but this was a painful one to watch. What I will say about Minnesota Rokkr, I don't think they're very good. Like, I've watched them play this series. I was, you know, pretty shocked at times by the level of COD that I was watching here. What I will say about them, though, is that there is obviously some talent there. Nero has his moments. Geo has his moments. Estriel has his moments. CleanX maybe occasionally has his moments, but I will say that they have some grit. They have some determination, this Rokkr team. I don't think they're entertaining to watch, but I get, you know, you're kind of gripped to watching them because you never really know what's going to happen. And even if their backs are very much against the wall, they still have the belief, Rokkr, that they're going to get out of the hole. So I do respect that about them. I don't like watching them, but I do respect the fact that they never count themselves out of a game. Whereas Gentlemates, they seem to find themselves on the opposite side of this. And I've not actually looked through any of the replies of the tweets from those guys yet, although I imagine that the French community that have been very supportive of Gentlemates so far may well have turned based on the results of today. Rokkr were looking pretty good to win them at 4, then they got a disconnect, Estria lagged out, it was so close that they just decided, you know what, we're just going to replay it from scratch. So, you know, there have been worse lag outs, I suppose. And then during the replay, Paulix had a nosebleed and was playing with this, you know, piece of tissue stuffed up his nose the entire time. So I thought that was very typical for Paul. Just kind of goes to show what I'm saying about the grit here. They won this map this time actually significantly more comfortably on the replay. Rokkr take it to 5. And again, when the pressure was on, Gentlemates had done all the hard work. You've just got to win one more map to close out the series. They couldn't do it. And honestly, the map 5 wasn't even close at all. So that was just shocking. I'm not going to lie, from Gentlemates. Rokkr are not very good. And you know, maybe they're going to prove that they're going to have a good run. I don't know. But I don't think Gentlemates are any good. They're 0-4. They've looked okay. Like, every series they played, they've looked okay. Like, that's the frustrating thing, right? They probably could have won, like, every single series they've played this season, but they've lost all of them. And that tells you something about whether this team of 4 is going to be successful or not. And I think the answer is relatively clear. As Nero says, GG's 1-3-2, got the ice. Paul's a warrior for working through what he went through. But these were the numbers, and again, you know, there's one player that stands out here. It's unfortunate to talk about, but we discussed it, right, when Priestahh was dropped controversially from the subliners after winning the World Championship, whether that was going to be a good move or not. Look, very, very difficult to justify a decision like that, but in hindsight, do I get why subliners did it? Sure. Do I see why today there are serious concerns? Absolutely. And I think even Cobra, of course, French player, teamed with Lynz before, was expected maybe to get a league spot this year. They've got to be thinking about it, haven't they, right? I mean, Gentlemates have to be thinking about, even right now, they've started the league 0-4. They're now 0-5, losing to Rokkr, getting reverse swept. You know, this might be the dagger to their team. I will just say, having looked through the replies to Priestahh, there's still a lot of positivity in here, right? People saying, nice try, exceptional game, lots of potential, you know, reset, work hard, you know, you're going to bounce back type thing, keep going. So, you know, I'm sure this will change at some point if it keeps going like this. But I guess for now, there is still some belief here that, you know, next weekend is going to be better for Gentlemates and all this stuff. So I'm honestly, like, amazed at the resilience of the French fan base here. But, like, I'm genuinely quite impressed at the positivity that they're still showing. But, you know, you can start to see some question marks creep into the discussion, and I think you can understand why. Let's talk, though, Heretics FaZe. This was fascinating. I didn't know who was going to win this series, and after map 1, I was like, are we seriously going to see what we think we might see here? So Heretics came at map 1 and they just slammed FaZe. And whatever you want to say about FaZe, the way they bounced back in this series and the promise they've shown potentially going into the next round against Thieves, this is something that would never happen to FaZe. How many times in the last 5 years have you seen FaZe nearly get 100-point clubs? It very rarely happens, and if it does happen, it's usually by a very top team. It happens, you know, enough times to start counting on 2 hands in the last couple of weeks alone, right? In the last at least couple of weeks of competitive play. And now it's happening to Miami, a team that, you know, in our Breaking Point power rankings were 11th. Now, we know Miami are going to be like this. They're going to be inconsistent. They're going to have good maps. They're going to have maps where they look bad. But FaZe just got slammed here. Like, they weren't trading anything, going 1 by 1. They nearly got 100-point clubbed by Miami on red card. Like, it ain't a good sign. And game 2 was potentially looking suspicious as well for FaZe until this happened. So Simp makes one of the plays of all time in recent COD memory. Look, I don't know what the boys on Heretics are doing here. Obviously, they thought they had the kill guaranteed. He hits the Kobe downtown onto Lucky. And then I don't really know what Metals is doing here, because there's no way that Simp can get and defuse the bomb by here. I mean, look, usually in a 1 versus 4, it's not the fault of the last guy. In this case, I think it's the fault of the second guy, Real, jumping off the top for, you know, no good reason. And then it is the fault of the last guy. Like, I don't know what Metals is doing here in this 1 versus 1. But, look, not many players would be able to pull something like this off. And Simp clutches the 1 versus 4, an impossible 1v4 with less than 30 seconds on the clock. Miami threw. You're always going to be throwing if you somehow lose a 1v4 with 30 seconds on the clock. But, this was, and may well prove to be, a massively important play for FaZe. If Simp loses this round, Minor go up 2-1. They then proceeded to win the next 2 rounds anyway. You know, hypothetically, that could have been a 4-1 lead for Heretics on this map. That could have been a very different story. This for FaZe, I'm not saying that this is going to save their season, but this was a critical play for FaZe and also for Simp. I know that people were watching this saying, damn, Simp's going to look real good on OpTic next year next to Shotzzy, just because, you know, it's not like FaZe have impressed me, but they did get the job done. They clutch him in the search and destroy. They then won the control. They did a pretty good job to get the defense on the control round 5. They won the defense on the control round 5, and then they closed out a pretty emphatic hardpoint, actually. So it did feel like FaZe found their groove. This was a rogue tweet from the Atlanta FaZe Twitter accounts. I thought it was pretty entertaining, but yeah, FaZe get the job done, but it's not like they're impressive, right? I mean, you know, 250, 113, and if not for that Simp 1 versus 4, and Simp, frankly, just having a pretty godlike series after that as well. Still a question mark. Cellium, again, 0.93. The reality is, in this game, if you want to win, you've got to move around the map. I just don't think it works especially well for Cellium. He did have some good damage, but again, 63 kills. It's, you know, down there with lucky that he had this series as well. Simp and Drazah. Drazah deserves credit as well for the way that he closed out the series. So FaZe survive, but it wasn't exactly what they were hoping for, I'm sure. And let's talk about OpTic Falcons, because this was... I mean, this was one of the maps of the season. Game 1 was absurd. I don't really think I've ever seen anything like this. OpTic, they've been looking great in scrims over the last few days. This new Falcons team, you know, their new academy might be better than their starting roster. That's been some of the discussion over the last few days. No Khalid. We don't know where he's gone. We don't know why he's gone. Like, it's very confusing. I don't actually know if anyone really knows why Khalid has gone. Kicks, right? Hopefully he's back soon. And if they had him today, they might have won straight up, because Xnid was on crack. I don't know which other way to say it. Like, this guy drops the kill record, which may not be beaten all season long. And it was a tough one because his teammates, Dahoom and Wixel, they had pretty bad map 1s. But Xnid comes out and drops 52 kills for the L. Like, this guy was on fire. I honestly, so impressive to see this guy play. Kicks as well, we know, has got talent too. And, you know, clearly there's talent there in this team. Watching his POV this map was mega. I mean, he just dropped 52 kills on the reigning world champions, right? Like, that is nothing short of very impressive indeed. Unfortunately, despite going up 100-0, I never really doubted that OpTic would find a way to win the map. It was really only Xnid getting kill after kill after kill, and Rokkr has had a good map as well, keeping them alive. But man, if they had Kicks in the team, like, they could have won this map, they could have won this series, but unfortunately, their players they brought up from the academy didn't have the best maps. I get it, you're playing OpTic, first ever series as a pro. The pressure's going to be on. Didn't seem to affect Xnid. This guy was on fire. But even the way the game ended, could have gone either way. Down to the wire, it was like 235, 235. Falcons could have won it. Looked like OpTic were going to be able to win it. Like, it was all going on, and eventually OpTic got the break and they closed it out. But yeah, even Dashy had 42 kills. His would have been 57 with the assist as well. Xnid would have seen 61 on his screen with the 9 assists that he had as well. So yeah, amazing stuff. And OpTic win the map 1. And after OpTic won the map 1, I thought, okay, this series is over. And to be fair, it was. But again, it's not like OpTic either made it easy for themselves or Falcons didn't play badly. The search and destroy was competitive. There's a bit of a glitch here. Shotzzy was talking about as to why Huke and Kenny ended up going down to the same grenade. But yeah, Kenny did not have a great map as well on the game too. And it is a storyline to keep your eyes on here, right, with Kenny. We know that in scrims he's been a bit up and down. We know that he's expected to get better with time. We know that he's expected to get better on LAN, but you know, Kenny's play so far, he knows himself has been underwhelming, and he knows that he needs to get better straight up. This Falcon series, OpTic would have come in thinking they could play with their toes and probably win. The reality is that Falcons can shoot back, but, you know, it's a classic series when you've got a massive underdog versus a massive underdog. The overdog, if you want to call it that, comes in and, you know, doesn't have their foot 100% on the gas, I guess is one way to look at it. But OpTic closed it out. They went to the control. They got the job done. And I thought this was pretty funny from Shotzzy here saying, get in the point. We know that Kenny was saying it as well in the group chat, or in the game chat, sorry, to Los Angeles Guerrillas, gentlemates in scrims that they played yesterday. And Shotzzy was roasting these guys as well. Even Kenny after the series says, that was frustrating. Every timing was wired. We weren't playing well, but that was a completely different pace than what we've been playing. Kind of saying that the COD that they played there, the pace of the gameplay, was not what they've been putting up with in scrims over the last couple of days. And that gets into what Shotzzy's going to talk about, as we'll discuss in some detail, I'm sure, tomorrow morning. As Shotzzy says, team's insane. GG's Falcons, 1-3-0. And if you look at the numbers, again, it's another classic. Shotzzy and Dashy looking like, scump and formal out there, to be honest, right now. Like, they are cooking. Doom and Wixel, tough series. Xnid, he had a banger, especially the map 1. After that, of course, it was relatively downhill. But, tough series for Kenny. Didn't matter. The rest of the team carried him through. And OpTic will advance to play Boston in the next round of the tournament tomorrow. We're going to discuss Cloud9 Surge tomorrow morning. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.